Hey, bourbon family, welcome back to Whiskey Phoenix, where smooth is optional and fire is mandatory. How are we holding up on this tragic, terrible Tuesday, fam? It's too close to Monday, is why I affectionately refer to it as Terrible Tuesday. Now, before I go any further, my content is for those 21 years of age and older. I do not promote or sell alcohol on my channel. I just so happen to love talking about my passion, and it just so happens to be bourbon. Now, with that out of the way, fam, what I have for you today is a bourbon review, and one that's kind of unique for me. My brother picked this up, and it is from the Amador Whiskey Company. This is a Kentucky rye whiskey finished in port barrels. Wow, this won't not come off. There we go. Um, I couldn't find a whole lot on the research, but I found the important part, I think. I couldn't find anything on the whiskey company themselves, but this is sourced from Willett um, Distillery there down in Bardstown. The mash bill is 74% rye, 11% corn, 15% barley. It's first aged for 3 years in American oak barrels, and then it's finished in Amador County Terra de Oro port barrels for 9 to 12 months. It's bottled at 92 proof, and it comes in at a fairly friendly MSRP of between $50 to $65. Now let's get into this nose. The one thing I do love is they say that they are born in Kentucky and raised in California. So I'm guessing that's where they do all their blending. Now, fam, for me on the nose, this is slightly sweet. I'm getting some red fruit, some baking spice, and I'm going to lean into cinnamon. And then there's a hint of oak on the nose, as well as some caramel. Now let's see what this tastes like. Fam, for me on the palate, this is slightly sweet, slightly creamy. That red fruit on the nose, definitely getting it on the palate. There's some toffee, vanilla, not much of a rye spice on this at all. Not your typical bite of rye, if you will. Um, I think the one thing is I'm not getting a whole lot of the port on this. I mean, it's like it's trying to sneak through, but it's just not making it. The finish on this actually is pretty decent. It's a medium finish. I can still feel it, but I can feel it fading very quickly as well. I would consider the finish medium. It's smooth. The oak is staying with me on the palate, along with the light spice, but it's almost gone, and maybe just a little bit of like that red fruit, dried fruit, whatever you want to say, that we are talking about on the nose and the palate. Fam, I don't know if I already said it, but I'm going to say it again just in case. This does come in at a friendly MSRP of between $50 to $65. The overall impression of this in my research that I found is that um, people felt it was well integrated. It's a sweet rye that is considered approachable for those looking to, maybe try something that's not as traditional and not as like spicy as your normal ryes. Um, it's They kind of highlighted it as it could be like a dessert whiskey. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't think I've had sweeter that I would consider a dessert whiskey, like the Rio from Penelope. I would consider that more into a dessert whiskey than I would this Amador Kentucky rye. So, but everybody's got their opinions, right? Um, but they did say, and I think this is probably a good point, that this is really good for whiskey drinkers who prefer ryes that are less intense and maybe have a little bit of, I don't want to say fruit forward. I'm just reading my research notes that I took. I don't know that it's that fruit forward. I mean, granted, the dark fruit kind of went from the palate or from the nose to the palate, to the finish, but I don't really consider it for me personally to be super fruit forward. My brother picked this up for me. It's something that I wouldn't have picked up for myself probably. I probably would have walked right by it. I don't I'm not disappointed in the fact that I have this bottle. I could see this being like an everyday sipper, just about. But yeah, that's the beauty. I love what my brother does is he'll like pick up things that I won't. So fam, on the Whiskey Phoenix rating scale, this is going to come in at an ember, barely alive. I just don't think it's that complex. The palate doesn't, or the finish doesn't last very long, but again, I think this would be a great beginner rye. And that's if you like your whiskey and bourbon finished in a port barrel. So you have to take that into consideration as well. Fam, if you are partaking on this tragic, terrible Tuesday, as always, please drink responsibly. And remember, stay sharp, stay burning, rise again, and I will see you in the next one.